Once I was dreaming that you and me, we were fish in the sea. And I was happy and I was free, floating weightless in the deep. So maybe we should be a million miles away from everyone we know and everything we made. But darling, don't be scared, 'cause some things never change. And anywhere we go, I'll love you all the same. Come, let's sail away. I found the best place. I found the place dreams are made, where every day the summer rays, they dance like diamonds in the waves. So maybe we should be a million miles away from everyone we know and everything we made. But darling, don't be scared, 'cause some things never change. And anywhere we go, I'll love you all the same. I'm thinking about you. I'm thinking about you. I'm thinking about you. I'm thinking about you. Yeah. So maybe we should be a million miles away from everyone we know and everything we made. But darling, don't be scared, 'cause some things never change. And anywhere we go, I'll love you all the same. Maybe we should be a million miles away from everyone we know and everything we made. But darling, don't be scared, 'cause some things never change. And anywhere we go, I'll love you all the same.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. I hope all of you enjoyed that short clip about what it's like to be a pilot here at Ardmore Flying School. I'd just like to give a shout out to the instructors and students who made that video, providing us with a tour of the school, what it's like to learn from many of the fantastic instructors here at Ardmore Flying School. In this next episode, I got a chance to interview the CEO of Ardmore Flying School, Irene King. Irene has been in the business for many years, and she formerly worked in Air New Zealand, and now she is sharing her expertise and wisdom with us here at Ardmore Flying School. Over the course of the next 20 minutes, I got a chance to talk to her about her background, um, her knowledge of the industry, many of the strategies she's trying to implement here for the institution's success, and what her vision is for the future of Ardmore Flying School. I'd like to just take a moment to request all of the viewers of the show to please subscribe to the channel, as this will enable me to bring more and more guests on the show. Please do leave any feedback you have in the comment section below, and don't forget to hit the subscribe and like button. Let's sit back, relax, and enjoy the next 20 minutes with us. Yeah, hi Irene, welcome to the show. Thanks for accepting my
Thank you.
invitation. So I have Irene King here today. So Irene is the chief executive of Ardmore Flying School, and so usually I'm used to meeting you in person, but right now I'm meeting you behind a screen. But so Irene joined Ardmore in late 2021, and she has bringing extensive experience in aviation and education regulation, and she also played a key role in steering the school throughout the post-COVID era. And under Irene's leadership, Ardmore has strengthen its industry ties, working closely with regulators like the CAA and NZQA. And she also helped launch the Auckland Pilot Training Group initiative. She holds an MBA from Brunel University and a master's degree in economics from the University of Otago. So thank you so much, Irene, for joining us today. And yeah, we can begin.
Thank you. It's wonderful to actually be interviewed. This is the first time a student has come to me and asked me this, and I thought, what an opportunity! It's fabulous to be able to just talk and sort of put out some of the messages about Ardmore. So thanks, Aman.
Yeah. So looking back, I mean, you've kind of worked in aviation for a very, very long time. So what inspired you to like pursue a path in the aviation industry?
Yeah, sure. Look, I came to aviation really late in life. It was sort of a point where the New Zealand government was restructuring quite severely a lot of government agencies, and Air New Zealand was owned at that stage, as it is today, by the government. And I was a young regulatory economist, and I got to meet the chief executive and a number of the senior management of the Air New Zealand team. And I thought, wow, what an interesting business, because it had so many different dimensions and challenges. And so I thought, well, will they accept me? Because, yes, I had some really good relevant qualifications, but, still aviation sort of is very much a traditional male dominated field. And even then, in the management team, I was the first female external graduate appointed to the company. And we're talking late 80s. So things have come a long way since then.
Mhm. Um, and I was just thinking, like flight schools, in my opinion, are I would say like the backbone of the aviation industry. Like without flight schools, we wouldn't have pilots. And what sort of like, in terms of like leading a flight training organization, what sort of unique challenges do you think come with running one, especially an institution as big as Ardmore?
So that's a good meaty question, and I love it, because part of the reason why I'm here is the challenges, and they range from things that you get in an airline environment, um, such as optimization and scheduling, and all of the regulatory compliance, right through to running, what is a sort of a medium-sized business in the New Zealand environment. So we have roughly close now to 45 employees. And so I am the HR department as well. Mm. So I provide the leadership and the customer service, but I also, counsel and guide students and our instructors in terms of, what the vision is. So my job is incredibly diverse, but for flight training in particular, the challenges is really relate to, everyone is an individual. They learn and they train and they respond at different rates. And what you have is a structured program that you have to put them through. And it's about how you sort of think about matching people to environments, to challenges. And, this is sort of getting into the behavioral psychologist's realm. And so for me, that was all sort of pretty new stuff. And I really relish that because, the people are the backbone of the business, and the more we can get them focused on and working together, the smoother the business runs.
Okay. So, like every month, at the end of every month, we have town hall meetings, and quite often, you often talk about like how important it is for us to like the school's coordination the regulatory bodies. And so like almost every town hall, even the previous one, the safety meeting, you briefly spoke about your coordination with the CAA as well. So could you maybe provide just like a specific example of how this has worked in practice? And when you're working with the regulators as well, what sort of obstacles do you encounter whenever you uh, try and coordinate with them?
Yeah, sure. Look, let me give you an example. And regulators, the first thing is to be respectful and honest with them. They have an innate ability to sense if you're lying, because they see so much and they experience so much, and so you have to be very honest, and you put the context, your context, the way you see the world around what you're doing. Now, just after I started, one of the the major challenges I had is that the regulator determined that there were 3 or 4 aircraft, they weren't quite sure whether it was 3 or 4, that potentially were not compliant with all of the rules relating to maintenance. And you think piloting, becoming a pilot is complex. Well, you've got the same sort of complexity sitting over in the engineering environment. So they came to me and they said, and it was 9 pages, and they walked in and they sat down and gave me a 9-page letter of all of the issues. And basically they said to me, well, you have a choice. You can ground them or we ground them. And really there is no choice. What it is about is how you recover from that grounding. There's a massive choice in terms of how you as a business take ownership. And one of the things that I always do with regulators is say, we will take ownership of the problems. We created them. We've put you in this invidious position. Now we have to sort it out, and we will come back to you and seek acceptance from you of what we're doing. Do you think I was happy or pleased about having to do that? No, of course not, because it meant 4 aircraft sitting on the ground, whereas I'd much rather be flying them and earning some money. But the reality is, it was a massive learning curve in terms of regulator expectations. The regulators are always clear in terms of what their expectations are. The problem that they have is putting into context around your business. And that's where we, as business managers, come in. We have to be skilled communicators. We have to be very clear communicators. We have to work with our team to understand what the end objective is, which is, in this case, getting the aircraft back into the air. But we have to understand what all of the concerns were of the regulator. Because inevitably, while we may think they are not valid, through my long experience of working with them, there is always some learning and some validity in what they have suggested to you. And it's really about how we as a business accept the challenges, and then how we communicate those challenges to our students. Our students have to understand why we are running the business the way they are, why we are running the business the way we are, and also what it means for them. Because sometimes it doesn't mean such great news for them, but you have to communicate it. You have to be very authentic in your communications. You have to be honest with them. Because one of the things I found in general in business is, as soon as you hoodwink somebody or you pull the wool over your eyes, a very New Zealand term, you start to compromise not only your personal ethics, but the ethics of the people in the business and the business itself. And then you start to run into some really, really major difficulties. Now, everyone knew that it was my decision to ground the aircraft. That's the easy part. the easy part was done. The issue then becomes, how do you provide assurance to all of your stakeholders that when these aircraft go back and operate again, that in fact they are compliant, or they meet all of the standards. And that is quite in the engineering rating, it is quite intensive. And there are multiple levels of assurance having to be provided. At one point, last year, the engineers assured me that something was good to go. And normally you would say, yeah, that's great, but that's where your understanding and knowledge of the regulator and how regulators think about systems comes in. And I said, well, actually, I require assurance from the original engine manufacturer, because they are the most experienced with this particular engine. And they came back and recommended a different course of action. Now, that to me speaks volumes about the way you think about regulators and the systems that they manage. Generally, they're right, but you have to take ownership of how you solve the problems.
Okay.
And you have to be respectful, obviously.
So like, just another, I think, about like a flight training organization as well, like another important aspect is like the qualities the instructors have. And so I mean, most of our instructors are like very experienced, and so like, what qualities do you think the instructors have that have at Ardmore that have like contributed to this institution's success for like such a long time?
Yeah, because we're 61 years old, and we've got an awesome heritage, but we've also got an awesome future. And so it's how you look at and think about the core values of your organisation. And we identify instructors very early on. And so what are the things that really start to impress us? It's the ability to inquire, to own situations, to acknowledge situations, but always to put up your hand and say, gosh, is there some other way? Do I need some extra help? How can I go and talk openly to the more senior instructors? Are they really transparent and authentic individuals? Now, do they actually enjoy what they do? Are they passionate about their careers, about their students? Do they actually care for other people?
Mm-hmm.
No. Do they actually love what they do? And we pick those sorts of really soft skills up, because everyone can. By the time you graduate from Ardmore, you can fly.
Yeah.
And you can fly well. But what we're looking for is, have they got that authenticity? Do they actually care for these students? Will they assure their students? Will they spark the student when they've perhaps had I mean, everyone has a bad flight. No one's immune from that. But do they actually care? Are they invested in student success? Are they passionate about ensuring that our students want to go on and aspire to be instructors and pilots? And do they really actually enjoy the people who are with us at the time? Because those are they're all always changing. Do they share our values? No, so it's all of those sort of soft skills, and like I say, we're fortunate in the sense that we can identify them very early on, and then we're, as you know, we're just strengthening a lot of our mentorship and in integrating people into our organisation very early on, because that's how we assure safety as well. The more you share our vision and values, the more we can assure ourselves that when we go out there and fly, that the operation is safe and that you all come home. Now, all of those things, when you identify dysfunctionality, that's when safety starts to get compromised. And as you know, safety is at the heart of every aviation business. And it's about how we buy in and how we articulate that. And given that we're operating a lot across a lot of different cultures, some people don't quite. Kiwis are seen to be quite quirky by some cultures. We probably are quite quirky actually when I think about it. But for some cultures, the ability to accept that your boss doesn't always get it right, but they want to hear from you. What are we doing wrong? How are we compromising what you want to achieve? Are we not listening enough? Are we not supporting enough? Are you not open in your communication with us? All of those sorts of things. You undergo quite a major cultural change when you come into an organisation that says, it's okay to make a mistake. It's okay to screw up. I just want to make sure that you haven't killed yourself, to me, or done any serious damage to yourself. I can replace the aircraft, but I can't replace you.
Yeah.
And to me, that is the essence of a great aviation business. When every member of staff understands that we can't replace each other, and we have to invest everything that we all our knowledge, all our skills, all our values, all our intuitive understanding of why people behave under stress. We invest that in each other, and we enjoy it. It's not a weapon. It's not something to be demonized. We want you to enjoy your time here, because the more enjoyment you get out of what you are doing here at the school and all its environment, the more comfortable we are that we're producing great pilots.
Okay. So, if everyone, like the instructors or, someone at an airline, everyone at one particular point has to at first make a decision saying, okay, I want to be a pilot. That's where you have to begin. So, what sort of qualities do you think would make a great pilot in today's aviation landscape?
Look, I mean, clearly you've got to have a really good mind, a mind that can focus, but not focus in a way that it's still minute. It's got to be very situationally aware of the environment that you're operating in. So you've got to be, aware of just all sorts of different dynamics that are going on in people's lives and what's happening at the school, and you have to be able to interpret those and apply them, because that's again what keeps you alive when you go out. It's being aware of all the threats and all the risks in your environment, and managing them magnificently, and most pilots do. So what else are we looking for? We want people who are really comfortable with our culture. It's an interesting issue, because people think our cultures are all the same. Every flight school has the same culture. Well, my observation is that every flight school has a very different culture. And our culture is very much one of nurturing and problem solving with the student, and committing to working through those problems. Because some students have some really challenging problems, but it's about us supporting and nurturing and growing that student. Now, I'm not saying everyone succeeds here, but if they don't succeed, I don't want them to feel like they're a failure. It's just that there's something else that's out there that they will be more suited to. But I want them to go out of here understanding that they've had a great experience. So how do we think about that when we're starting to recruit? And that's quite challenging for us because, we have 40 different cultures here and they come from all around the globe. So how do we know that the people that are coming to us are the really quality students, the students who we think will fit? So we have an international outsource department, and Tom Parker has been working with us for about 10 years now. And he understands how Ardmore ticks, what the vibe is of Ardmore. He's seen us in our good times, in our bad times, and our recoveries, and our growth, and our contractions. And he has seen every dynamic of business in this place. And he understands at any point in time what our vibe is, and whether when he interviews and his country managers interview, whether you're going to fit the Ardmore vibe.
Okay.
You have to go through all of those. I know you go through a whole battery of academic tests, but really it's his assessment of how are you going to respond to having a female non-pilot running a flight training school, because that in its own right is pretty out there. How are you going to respond to the fact that New Zealand is empty relative to most countries? So, I think, are you actually going to enjoy the vibe of New Zealand and then the vibe of Ardmore? So there are it's all those soft things, the things that really make the person and create the pilot that he's testing for and he's looking for and he's interviewing for. And his team is extremely experienced. They're doing this for 15 or 16 other different schools in New Zealand. Like they recruit chefs, and they do, IT people. So they are seeing a wide ambit, but he understands the vibe of the school.
So just as my final question, just to kind of like sum up everything. So like I said earlier, you've been here at Ardmore since 2021. So what would you like to like? What does the future of the school look like for you? What would you like to see happening?
Well, I'd like to say, gosh, if we could magic up a new school building, that would be great. But let's understand that the owners reinvest every dollar back into the school. They don't take any profits on it. It's about their commitment to the growth of pilots and growing the number of pilots globally. So they're not in it for profit. They don't want me to make a loss, but they're not in it for profit. So, the next big challenge is to really start to invest in high-tech aircraft and bridge that gap, bridge that skills gap to the airlines. Now, the challenge for me is that the airlines keep on changing what they want. Everyone thinks the airlines stay pretty. Well, they don't. At the present time, it's all about basic handling skills, being able to display airmanship and flying an aircraft. That's what they're after. And then they want to know that you've got, your instrument flight competencies. They want to know that you can work well in a team environment. And that's where all our soft skills The sort of things that we grow and nurture and develop are really important. So yes, we've got a major investment project ahead of us in terms of investing in the school, but for me it's about quality, not quantity growth. We want to have, and we have done this for a very long time now, have students who are recognised when they go back into their airline environments as quality students, not just run of the mill, but students who are passionate about being great pilots and are passionate learners, and they love enjoying what they do. And for me, it's actually understanding a lot more about how I bring that passion and that enjoyment to the fore. I mean, yes, it's always going to be within this box of thinking about getting each other safe, but how do we make sure that the next generation of pilots love what they're doing and are passionate, and they really respect their alma mater, because a good alma maters, their good flight schools will give them good basic airmanship skills. And that's what's now core and central to the way airlines are thinking about, upset recovery processes. 10 years ago, they didn't even think about those things. They just wanted a type rating and an instrument rating. And if you had a bit of Molly Crow experience, yeah, that was a plus. Now, what they want is just good, basic airmanship skills. They want to be confident that when things go wrong, that you're not going to panic. Yeah. And that you got these good basic skills that you defer to. And that's all about understanding how people react to stress. Because as long as we inculcate the basic skills and we do that well, we know that should something untoward happen, and thank goodness it doesn't happen very often in aviation, but we know that you're not going to panic. You're just going to defer to your personal settings, your default clause, the way we have trained you to react in a stressful environment. And yes, you're going to have a great ability to communicate with your captains and other co-pilots and second officers, and you're going to be respectful in the way you work in our global community. And if we can, and these are the things that I like to think are the future of Ardmore. You do the basics right. You have, respect for your peers, respect for others. You're confident that you can speak up, you can speak out, and that you actually enjoy and love what you're doing.
Hey everyone, I hope all of you enjoyed that short interview with Irene, and I just wanted to give a huge shout out to Irene for taking the time out of her busy schedule and coming and attending this interview with me. And I'd just like to I'd just like to thank all of the subscribers and viewers of the show for supporting this channel. And I also have just a request to all of the subscribers and viewers of this channel to please continue supporting this channel. And if you haven't subscribed already, please click the subscribe button, as this will enable me to bring more and more interesting guests on the show, and this will enable me to further grow the channel. And lastly, this episode will mark the 25th episode of this podcast. I can't believe we have made it this far. So, once again, I'd like to thank all of you, because without the viewers and subscribers of this channel, I wouldn't have been able to make it this far. So, once again, I'd like to thank everyone for supporting this channel, and please do continue supporting it in the future. Thank you.